How different was the locker room when Rick left?
Again, there's a lot of guys wanted to see him go so they could elevate themselves. Anyone that was in tune to the wrestling business knew that the balance of power went to Vince at that point. You don't replace Ric Flair.
Right.
It's an impossibility. Our champion, however many times it was at that point, just went to the enemy. So he had both champions.
Right.
It's hard to play a chess game when the other guy's got two queens.
How did you react personally when you heard Rick was going to go?
I wanted him to go when we went. And Rick had talked about going with us. That was part of the deal because we'd had some blow-ups from Crockett, and we had went in and had some meetings, and it was the final straw with us. And we had talked, well, we'll just all go. If we all would have went, we would all still be there.
Right.
It would have been
amazing.
Can you imagine what Vince McMahon would have done with the Four Horsemen?
Amazing.
And I came up with the name, so in essence, it was mine. It wasn't like Crockett had it trademarked. We could have took it with us if Vince would have wanted it. Can you imagine what he would have done with that?
Would have been huge.
Oh, well, that's that being right underneath Hulk Hogan, wrestling for the main event. Or my God, Rick wrestling Hogan, and then us right underneath there. I mean, God, it would have been incredible. But he didn't go. He should have went. And then when he went, I was glad to see him go because I knew Vince McMahon would treat him with the same class that Rick had treated the business. But I knew it was also too late. It was a couple of years too late. He should have went earlier.
How did you wind up with the Dangerous Alliance? And what was your relationship with Paul Heyman? Outside the ring.
I like Paul E. Paul E. was a BSer, but if you could cut through the BS, he was a pretty fair guy. He was a guy that wished things to be a way so much that he actually saw them being that way when they really weren't, if that makes any sense. The Dangerous Alliance was a great group. If you look, just break down the talent that was involved. I mean, you look at that group of wrestlers, it may have been the greatest talent group of all time. Rick Rude, Bobby Eaton, Larry Zbyszko, Steve Austin, Arn Anderson, Medusa, Paul Heyman. Am I missing somebody?
I think they're the key guys.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's a pretty damn good talent roster. And these were guys that were still in their prime, still working, working order, no bad injuries at that point. Problem is, WCW has never been the vehicle to promote such a group. And it's one of our shortcomings, and I'm not blaming anybody because at this point in time, this interview's being done, I work for WCW, and I'm loyal. I've been with them 10 years straight, take the 14 months out, and I've been with them 15 years straight that I went to work for Vince because I still consider the NWA WCW. Right. So I'm loyal, always have been, but our shortcoming is promoting our product, getting it out there and making these guys bigger than life. And Vince does that. He's the best at it.
I was going to ask you about WCW later. What are your memories of your matches with you and Bobby against Dustin and Ricky Steamboat?
I've got one that stands out. We're wrestling in the Omni, 1 hour time limit, 56-minute mark. Dustin Rhodes, who was still a kid at the time, completely ran out of gas. And he just, I think he started hallucinating or something. He started screaming in the ring. I think I had an arm lock or arm bar or something on him. And he just starts going, ah! Ah! And I'm looking at Bobby. I'm looking at the referee, and he's, ah! I tagged Bobby. It scared me. I thought this guy was flipping out. He was flipping out. I tagged Bobby. Bobby gets in, grabbed him. Same thing. I guess the guy was so blown up.
Right.
He flipped out. And it went like 59 minutes or something. I think Steamboat caught a fall on Bobby or something, but it was one of the strangest things I've ever encountered. The next day, I came up to Dustin and I said, it was a tough match. What's the matter with you? He didn't have an answer. I don't think he even remembered it. I think
Right.
if you've ever wrestled, if you've ever done anything for an hour straight, it's a long time.
Right.
And I think he just blew sky high.
Well,
That's a horrible memory of wrestling two guys of that quality. But along the same lines, Ricky Steamboat is probably the best babyface that ever lived. And, I say that without any contention. He was just the best. He was the smoothest. He had the best physique. He was the best looking. He had good looking gear. I mean, the guy was just across the board, was just, he was always tanned. And he's a gentleman.
right.
Ricky Steamboat is one of those classic, put him in a capsule, look at him 50 years from now, and he's your prototype for what you want to be a good guy wrestler. He's the guy.
What was the vibe like in the locker room when Bill Watts came in?
Dread. Anybody that ever worked for him before? We didn't know, what he was going to bring. But when we found out what he was doing, it was horrible. And the word we got was Bill Watts came in under the pretense, don't pay me a salary, just pay me out of what I can save the company. Well, the numbers didn't go up. The houses didn't go up. He just cut everybody's salary. And that's how he made his living, and me included. He cut mine in half. And I took it personally because I have a family. And thank God I was smart enough to maneuver myself into a position to do the angle with his kid, sit home and get paid for 4 months. Partial pay, but whatever it was, to sit home and get paid for 4 months and not do anything doesn't suck. And I was smart enough to maneuver myself in a position, but he was just, and the only thing he could tell me, the thing that really drove me crazy was he said, you and Bobby are the best team we have here. You're the best working team we have here. You're a great talker, but you've been here too long. Now, Bret Hart had been with Vince at that point for 10 years. Other guys have been up there 10 years. I didn't understand that. What do you mean I've been here too long? So I go from this TV to that TV. It's still wrestling. Most people don't know the difference.
Right.
So you're going to let your two best performers, in your words that you're saying, go to the competitor because we've been here too long. I never understood that. I never will understand. He was just cleaning house. He knew if he took our salaries and we went away, he wasn't going to replace us with anybody. He was just putting money in his pocket. He was wrong, and it was a lousy deal.
Were all the boys pretty upset about Eric Watts' push at the time?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Well, it was worse than Dustin Rhodes because Dustin Rhodes,
At least Dustin had talent.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. He was talented, and he was humble, and Dustin was a tremendous performer. Eric wasn't,
Right.
and isn't. There's no reflection on Eric. Eric was just, he was put in a position by his dad, but, who wouldn't have taken it?
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.